Hello, my name is Will and welcome back to the Bald Book Geek. So I was sent Descendant of the Crane by the publisher, and I have heard very mixed things about this book, and it was interesting to actually read it for myself because this came out last year in America and other places in the world. Kind of wanted to read it out of morbid curiosity, but a lot of friends said the same thing. So I'm going to talk about that and I'm going to go into it, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you're interested in anything I'm talking about, please like and subscribe. Please share this video. So let's get on with the review. So what is the book about? So very, very, very simple storyline. You have a young princess and is kind of doesn't want her responsibilities of the crown, but when her father is murdered, she is thrust into power and suddenly the queen of an unstable kingdom. Determined to find her father's killer, she does something desperate. She engages in an act of soothsaying, a treasonable act punished by death, because in Yen, magic was outlawed centuries ago. Using the information provided by the sooth, she is uncertain if she can ever trust her family. And this is kind of the basic plot. It takes place within a Chinese-inspired fantasy world, and well, let's get on with this review. The issue with this book is that it feels like a very generic revenge fantasy. This is a common trope, especially amongst YA fantasy, in which you have your Mary Sue main character, although she isn't a Mary Sue per se, but she is definitely bland, that goes on this revenge, usually tied to a family member, and usually daddy issues. Daddy issues, daddy issues, daddy issues. And this is what got me, is it's not actually a bad book. The writing wasn't the best. It was very simplistic writing. It didn't challenge the reader, but it was fine. It was writing, as I call it. But this felt like every other YA fantasy on the market. When you have fantastic YA fantasy like The Blood Heir, and then you have this come out, you kind of realise that The Blood Heir is actually the far better novel. This, on the other side of things, isn't that great. It's not. So this is a copy and paste storyline from every other book that's around right now. Every hyped YA fantasy novel that's big within the book community online has more or less this same revenge narrative, the same notions and the same motivations for each character. This book is nothing new and nothing particularly original, but it's not terrible. It's just generic. It's such a bland book. On a technical level, the writing is functional, but it doesn't hold you. It's not going to test you as a reader. It's really odd because the storyline is quite mature, but the writing style is obviously aimed at a much younger audience than the story. And please don't give me bullshit that just because YA is aimed at teenagers and women, when it's aimed at teenagers only, and this book isn't worthy of that. Just because it's aimed at teenagers doesn't mean it has to be so dry. This is a dry book. Doesn't hold your attention. There's nothing in it that pulls you in. It's not particularly strong, and it just didn't work. The flow was really off, the pacing was really off, the characters were generic and bland, and it just fell into this weird pit of boredom. I forced myself to the end, and I couldn't carry on anymore. Unfortunately, I was bored reading the whole thing. Why it has a lot of good ideas, they're poorly executed, and it just feels like another one. Another generic fantasy novel aimed at a young adult audience that's a cookie-cutter cutout of everything else. This book is nothing original, nothing particularly new, and while the world is pretty, you can read exactly the same storyline with a different skin, like a Minecraft skin, in countless other books. To be honest, I don't even give star ratings, but this is definitely low on the list. There are plenty of other books out there. Read it, but don't tell me I didn't warn you. So, as always, thank you for listening, and I know I sounded really hard on this book. It wasn't out of design, it was just out of, when you deconstruct a book on so many levels that you realise how generic it is, that's where this falls flat. So, tell me what you think in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.